this entire dinosaur. You can't look me in the eyes and be like, yeah, this is a species of dinosaur. This is what we think it looks like. And then you show me that you have 3 bones. It's like, come on.
So, it appears that I have been summoned. Thank you, Folka, for the suggestion. Now, let's get into this. So, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Oh, sorry. No, not that one. Ah, yeah, that one. So, with dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus Rex, there are some things that we can look at that will tell us, hey, this is related to Tyrannosaurus Rex. And one of the main things is their feet. Weird, right? You would think it's these tiny arms, but not every Tyrannosaurid has tiny arms. When we look at the foot of a Tyrannosaurus, you can see that this middle toe fuses into the other 2 toes on the side. Now, that is unique to Tyrannosaurids like Tarbosaurus, Gorgosaurus, and Nunuxsaurus, along with Tyrannosaurus. So that's just one small bone of the Tyrannosaurus Rex that we can see in other members of its family. And that is kind of the bigger way that paleontologists are able to kind of figure out, like, oh, this is part of the same family of this dinosaur. With your dinosaur, I don't know that species, I've never heard of that one, but I would imagine it's the same thing. Maybe those 3 vertebrae that you see are the bone that paleontologists look at for that species of dinosaur or that kind of dinosaur. With dromaeosaurs, a lot of dromaeosaurs have a sickle claw, so they're kind of lumped into the same family because they have that sickle claw. Ceratopsians like Triceratops, Styracosaurus, and Sinoceratops. Now, it did used to be based off of the frill, and there are still differentiating factors like the nose horns. So my buddy here, Styracosaurus, is part of a family called Centrosaurs, and Centrosaurs are based off of Centrosaurus, and they all usually will have a very distinct nose horn, but less distinct brow horns, and their frills are usually decorated really nicely. As we can see, Sinoceratops is also a centrosaur. Dinosaurs like Triceratops are a little different because they have those really big brow horns and the really small nasal horns, and the frills are not as fun and pretty. Triceratops is part of the family of Chasmosaurs, named after Chasmosaurus. So these guys are 2 different types of families, but they're all part of the family of Ceratopsidae. And that is because they have different beaks than stuff like Stegosaurus, there he is, and Ankylosaurs or Nodosaurs like this Sauropelta, or the big boy himself, Ankylosaurus. And I know you said that you understand that it's a little bit more complicated than that and it's a longer process, but when you come out in the video and say that there's no way that this can be named a dinosaur, think about Dinochirus. Oh, let me go get, there he is, the big duck chicken. So weird. So at first, Dinochirus was only known for the hands, and they thought that the hands were part of some meat-eating dinosaur that would use them as weapons. Obviously, that's not the case. We found more of the fossil, and it turns out to be this weirdo. And Dinochirus is part of a family known as Ornithomimids. It is part of the family like Gallimimus and Struthiomimus, those guys. And based off of certain bones, I'm not quite sure what the bones are, but based off of certain bones, we can see that this thing that was around the size of a T-Rex is in the same family as something that is about the size of an ostrich. It's just all based on specific bones. And like I said earlier, with your dinosaur, maybe those specific bones are the vertebrae. Again, I don't know what that dinosaur is, I'm not quite sure, but we're not paleontologists. You and me, we're not paleontologists. There are paleontologists on this app, and that would be a fantastic question for a paleontologist. I'm just an enthusiast. I just love these things, and I've loved them ever since I was a kid. So I literally study these things for fun. But sometimes it does get a little weird, and sometimes paleontologists just can't figure out what dinosaur goes with which family. Like my favorite, Cryolophosaurus. So Cryolophosaurus, he's a little unique. He's got this really interesting head crest that points backwards and then it points forward again. You see how it like curves forward? Let's see if we can focus a little bit. There we go. See how it curves back forward? Even the skull that we found in Antarctica looks like that too. See? There it is. That's, oh, let me move me. This is the eye socket. This is the ear, or the muscle attachment that would go right here. The ear would actually be back here. And then this is the antorbital fenestrae. So based off of this fossil, we're like, oh, maybe it's related to Dilophosaurus. You know, this guy. But Dilophosaurus is, yeah, in the Jurassic period, but in a completely different area. But they got two crests. They don't have one. And both of these crests point backwards toward the back of the head, whereas Cryolophosaurus's goes back and then forward again, like a wave or a pompadour like Elvis. If you know, you know. But there are a lot of different kinds of dinosaurs that have crests. Stuff like Ceratosaurus. Ceratosaurus has these really weird crests above the eyes and the nose. And they're not horns, they're crests. They're super fragile. But again, it doesn't match up with Cryolophosaurus. Now, Allosaurus has two crests above the eyes. But again, they're just not the exact same as Cryolophosaurus. So the frill is very unique to Cryolophosaurus. That is one part of the dinosaur that people can say, okay, so that is very unique to that dinosaur. So that dinosaur is part of its own family. But because of all those crested dinosaurs, they're all in the same time period of the Jurassic period, it's a little hard to figure out which one of those it belongs in. Like earlier ancestor kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah, it does get a little confusing, it does get a little weird, but that's why we have the paleontologists that are looking this stuff up, that are out in the field studying this on literally a daily basis, and that they can make peer-reviewed papers based off of their studies that we can just go look at. As they always say, Google is your friend. Sometimes. But I don't want to bore you any longer. I know that you said that it's a little bit more complicated. I just thought that I'd put in my 2 cents to kind of explain it a little bit better. I hope that helped. Just know that it's not a guessing game. Sometimes it is, like with Cryolophosaurus, but they're using their educated guesses. They're using science and paleontology, meteorology, all that fun stuff, comparative anatomy, all of that to kind of mash it into one thing to try and figure out what dinosaur is related to another dinosaur. But just remember, a lot of dinosaurs have very similar bones to each other, like we talked about with the Tyrannosaurus and its feet. So based off of your dinosaur, yeah, there's only 3 bones, but paleontologists are using comparative anatomy based off of how those vertebrae look compared to other dinosaurs in that area of the dinosaur. So it's the base of the tail. They're looking at a lot of theropods, a lot of, probably just theropods at this point, to try and figure out if it's unique enough. And if it is, they give it a new name, but it could be part of the same family as something else. So I hope that helped. I still need to do my own research a little bit more. I'm not an expert. I'm just an enthusiast. I just really like this stuff. So I would suggest do the same thing. If you're really interested in that kind of stuff, definitely look it up. Look it up on Google, or go to your local museum that has fossils and stuff and ask them, be like, hey, do you know how this works? How does this work? Because I want to know. But if you have any other questions, turn your stitches on next time, so then I can stitch your video. I linked your name so people can check you out. But yeah, I would turn those stitches on so people can help you out a little bit better. I know the comments are on and everything like that, but stitches really help because it allows people like myself who hates texting and stuff like that to be able to just say it to you. So I hope this helps, and yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. Again, thank you, Foka, for the suggestion.